Hi everybody, this is Clarine from In Rainy's Room, and today we're going to be making these cute little boxes. They are little fairy prism gift boxes, and this is the front. You open it up. It's a magnet that's going to close it. It says a sprinkle of fairy love, no, a sprinkle of fairy joy, and then down here it says a whisper of wings. And then that's the front. There's the back. If you don't believe in magic, you'll never find it. So true. Anyway, you open it up, fill it up with some candies, put whatever you like in there. I've used candy corn. And then this just closes with the magnets. So we'll be making those today, and let's get started. We're going to start off with a piece of cardstock. This is just standard size cardstock, 65 weight. And we're going to cut it 8 1/4 by 12. And then when we do our scoring, we're going to start with the 8 1/4 side up at the top of your scoring board. And then we're going to score at 2 5/8. There's 4, there's 5, 2 5/8 on each side. So I'm just turning this over, and on the other side I'll do that again at 2 5/8. And then we're going to rotate it so that your 12 inches is up at the top, and we're going to score at 3, 6, and 9. There's 3, 6, and 9. I'm thinking this brown is going to show up okay on the video. I didn't want to use black because it was a little harsh for the pastels that I'm working in today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut this out. And when we finish, we're going to have a big cross. And that will be the base of our little gift box. So to do that, we're going to start with the small squares up at the top. And I'm going to cut out these 2 squares on the bottom. There's 1 on each side. And I haven't folded them yet because I like to do my cutting before I fold and burnish. So I'm just going to cut this off. And this one over here. Okay. And then we're going to turn it upside down. And we're going to cut out both of these squares. So you're going to go up past that horizontal one and stop up here and go over. And we're going to do that on both sides. One. And look at the other side. Sometimes you gotta kind of turn your paper so you can follow those lines. There we go. Okay. Now I can fold and burnish. So I'm going to, this is the valley side. That's where I did the first scoring. That always goes down because that kind of prevents cracking. Sometimes it doesn't matter how many precautions you take. The paper still will tear sometimes. But I think this is going to be just fine. So I've got those taken care of there. Now before we put on our magnets, I'm going to bring my scoreboard back out, and we're going to, these are actually the sides of your box. So I'm going to put it in the, scoreboard. And I'm going to make a little tick mark right here at the 1.5, just on each side of here. And to do a tick mark, you have to just get on the 1.5, just pull it down a tiny bit, and then you just make a little mark there. Right like that. And I'll do it on the other side as well. This is going to be our sides. So bring that down at 1.5, little tick mark. And then we're going to use that mark to form our sides. And what we're going to do is, you can see I have a big black line down the middle of my scoreboard. I use it for a lot of things, and this is one of the times when it comes in handy. What I'm going to do is put the tick mark right on the black line, and I'm going to hold it in place. And then I'm just going to pivot this over so that I line it up with that corner. And then I just make the crease. And see, it's like right in that corner. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'll put my tick mark on the black line and then pivot this over here so that this little section comes right over to the black line. There you go. Then I can fold those. And that is going to be the sides of your card. So let me do that on the other side as well. The tick mark lined up. I'm just pivoting this over so that it lines up with that black line. And then I'll do this side as well. Let's see if this goes better upside down. I'll put the tick mark, line that up. There we go. Then I'll just fold those back. Okay, we'll be using that again in a minute. All right, so what we have now is our the base, and we're going to put on the magnets first because they go underneath the front section here, and also the top where it folds over. So what I want to do is have these, just kind of shape this a little bit so you can see what you're working with here. This will come up, this will make your sides, and then this comes over the top and makes your front. Now I made this box once before, but it was quite a bit different. It was well over a year ago, and I made enough changes that I thought, no, I better make another video because I altered measurements and stuff. So what we want to do is place our magnet on the outside of this front piece, about 1.5 inches up. So I'm going to get my magnets, and you know, these magnets are very strong. It doesn't matter. These happen to be Gray's magnets. They make wonderful magnets, but they mark them negative and positive. It really doesn't make any difference. So I don't bother with taking any of the tape off. I just glue it down. I'm putting my mark up about 1.5 inches in the middle. And I'm just going to put that down there. And I want to secure it. So I'm going to use some strapping tape here. And I'm just going to tape it down. The cover, once it gets glued on here, is going to take care of most of that. It's not going to move around a lot. Alright, so that's going to be my front. And again, kind of keep us in line with where we're at. And then we're going to have this come over. And I want to put the magnet on this side, like that. So I'll hold that. I'll put a little drop of glue right in the middle there. That's just kind of going to be a guide. I'll just pretend like this is all ready to go. I'll bring this over, line them up on the side, and just gently touch down there. You can see the little glue mark. So that's where my magnet is going to go. And this, there we go. I'll put it, it doesn't matter, I just drop it onto the magnet. It writes itself. So I know that this side of the magnet has to go up here. So I'm just going to slide it off there. Stick it down here. Oops. I dropped in. Let me start over. There we go. I'll stick it down here. And then I'll tape it down in place. There we go. Okay, now let me tell you a little bit about the covers that we're going to make. When I make my projects, I make them ahead of time and I print them on paper. I go through Photoshop. There were so many pictures of this darling little fairy in the kit, and I got the kit from Etsy. It was called Flower Fairy Clip Art. So I'm making several of these boxes. So I put them all on the page. Each of these are 2 3/4 inches square, and then I designed the fairy the way I wanted it and put it in there. The same with the sentiment. I used, oh, I don't remember the name of the font. Sorry about that. But these are all 2 3/4 of an inch. And this is the background that I designed to go behind and onto the sides and on the front here, where we're going to also put a little sentiment. And those measure 2 3/4 as well. And then there is a second measurement that is 2 3/4 wide, but it's only 2 3/8 high. So it's 2 3/4 by 2 3/8. And these are the sides. So you cut out 2 of those, which I did ahead of time. And I am going to go ahead, let me cut one of them out here to show you. This is the one that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/8. And we cut 2, and those are going to be to the side. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut those. 2 3/4. Whoops, that's 2 3/8. 2 3/4. Here's 2 3/8. this is why I'm glad I'm cutting this out for you, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm cutting this 2 3/4 by 2 3/8. And in the middle of that 2 3/4 edge, I'm going to put a little tick mark. You could use a ruler to do this, but of course I didn't bring one out with me. On the 2 3/4 edge, you're going to put a little tick mark at 1 3/8. And remember, I showed you how to make those little tick marks so you don't have to put anything on your paper. And I just make a little tick mark there. And what we're going to do is we are going to cut from this corner all the way up to your tick mark. Now, if you're more comfortable drawing a line, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm just going from this corner and just clipping off right at the tick mark. Now, once you cut this off, you really can't tell which side was the 2 3/4. So what I'm going to do, this is going to go on the side of the box, is on this lower edge, which is the 2 3/4, I'm just making a scribble mark so that when I go to put that on there, I know which ones go there. And I already did those ahead of time. So I marked the little squiggle mark down here. You could put an X, whatever you want to do, just so that you know that that's the bottom of the side for the triangle. And then I outlined my papers with just a pink Distress ink, Tim Holtz, and I did those off camera. I did them on the sides. This is the part in the front, and then there's the front, and then there's the back. Now I also did the sentiments ahead of time. I put them on a strip of paper, and then I used a 2-inch die and just taped it down there and then ran it out. So I did both of them. I did the Whisper of Wings and also one for a Sprinkle of Fairy Joy. So these are cut out, and I edged them in the pink as well. Alright, so let's put this together. Let's put the front on first. Lift up my tape here. And this has the plain one, 2 3/4. Remember to get the corners of your pages. Be sure and get glue in there so they don't peel up. I'll put this down. And just center it right there. I'm using glue because then you, oops, got a little too much there. Because you can have a little squiggle room to hold it down. I'm going to burnish that with this a little better. Okay. Now what we're doing is this part here. So I'm going to put a Whisper of Wings, as long as I got it down here. Now I did not use pop-ups or anything because I didn't want to interfere with the lid when it came over. So I just put this down flat. I'll put that on there, just put it in the center. And pretty good, there we go. I don't work a lot in pastels, but when I do, the first place I go is to a site called Nitwit really funny, Nitwit Collections. And they work primarily in pastels. That's where I got the background for these little fairies. So, see how we're coming like that? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put the back on, which is going to be this part here. And that's a sprinkle of Fairy Joy. And I'll take the tape off. And put that on there. Just centering it. Ooh, got some of my tape. I went down kind of low, so I'm just going to scooch it up there. Get it out of the way so it doesn't show. 'Cause I don't think that tape dries clear. I'm going to just put that there. There we go. Then I'm going to bring this over, and this is going to be the front, and this is my 2 3/4 picture for the front. So I'll put that on next. The order doesn't really matter, whatever makes sense to you. The important thing is to keep folding and forming your box so you know up from down and front from back. Especially when we do those sides, you'll see what I mean. So this is going to go here. I'll just put her in the middle. And then I'm going to put the back side on. If you don't believe in magic, you'll never find it. And that's going to go back here. Again, just kind of putting this together. Make sure everybody's in the right place. It's going to go in the back like that. And that's going to go right there in the middle. There we go. Okay, now we're going to put these sides on. And this is where, if you just were to kind of try and line it up, it's like, well, which way does that go? Goes where? You'll know because you've got your bottom marked. It goes down there. So I'm going to glue that on next. Oops. Yeah, see, I turned it around. So if I didn't have that marking, I have glue all over the place trying to fit it on. And I know that because the first time I made it, that's what happened. Okay, so that goes in the center there. And then the other one is going to come across from it and go right there. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to shape the base of your box. And to do that, we're going to bring these back up. So there's your sides. There's your front. These two triangles are going to get glued to the front side. So that's where my glue will go, on the smaller part. Like that. And this score line is going to go right up against this edge. And I'll put them like that. Kind of hold it in place. Press it down. And then you can lay it flat and kind of burnish the inside a little bit. That'll secure it. And I'll do the same thing with the other side. And believe it or not, we're almost done. Of course, you can always add more to whatever is in your head. I'm sure you're looking at this and going, oh, I know what I'm going to make. So that'll be fun. Again, I'm lining up those sides. And holding it and pushing it down. And then I can burnish on the inside. Okay. So we'll just fold that up and see if it clicks. It did. Yay! You know, I know the magnets work, but it always makes me happy when they make a little clicking sound. So there you have it. Your little fairy prism gift box. And you just open it up, fill it up with all kinds of goodies. There's your sentiments, and then this is the back side. Okay, well, thank you so much for stopping by today. Take care.